Right, hi there everybody, welcome back to the Turn Cycling YouTube channel and welcome to the kit preparation zone for the Silk Road mountain race. Apologies for the mess. I fly out to Bishkek in less than 2 days time now, and you'd be forgiven for thinking that I'm in a complete state of chaotic disarray. I assure you I'm not. All my last minute panic buying has been done and everything is finally starting to come together. Now, I've been getting a lot of questions coming in about the kit I'm going to be taking to the race, so I thought it would be a good idea to do a series of short videos looking at different aspects of that kit list. Hopefully that will answer all your questions. If it doesn't, leave a comment below. This is the first of these kit videos, and today I'm going to be looking at my electronics setup because this is probably the one element that gets the most questions. I think typically people assume that when you go into something like Silk Road you need to have a dynamo setup. Now, I've never used a dynamo and I won't be using one on Silk Road. Now, I'm not going to make this video a dynamo versus power bank pros and cons, or dynamos are shit, power banks are amazing. What I am going to do is talk you through my setup and what I think works really well about this. So, first and foremost, let's look at what it is that consumes electricity that I'm going to have with me that I will need to keep fully charged up. And I think the most important place to start is with my navigation unit. So for just over a year now I've been using the Garmin 1040 Solar. This is without a doubt the best device on the market in terms of battery life. The way I've got it set up for racing, this will typically last me about 50 to 60 hours depending on how much sunshine there is, because obviously it has the little solar panels in it and they do make enough of a difference. When I use this on Atlas Mountain Race, I didn't plug it into charge until lunchtime on day 4, by which stage I've been riding something approaching 48 hours and I still had around 13% battery life left. So this is going to get me through at least 3 days of riding time on the Silk Road. That's navigation device. I would say the second most important device after that are lights. Now, rear light, I have always used just a very simple cat eye rear light that runs on AAA batteries. You put the AAA batteries in, you turn the light on, and it lasts about 10 days or something like that. I don't think I've ever had one run out on a race. So they last a super long time and you just don't need to worry about it. You can forget about it. So we don't need to worry about that really. Front light. Front light, this is actually a new addition to the setup for this race. I have just invested, and invested is probably the right word, in an exposure 6-pack. This is the most powerful light they do. Now, it's not necessarily that I need that incredible brightness, although it will be handy when I'm doing some technical descending, but the most important thing about this is the fact that it has a very large battery size. Prior to this I was using an Exposure Strada that had a 7,800 milliamp hour battery, and that would typically last me about 18 hours of burn time, so usually good for 3 nights. On a race like Silk Road, the daylight time is about 14 hours, so there's going to be 10 hours of night time, and usually I'm going to be stopped for about 6 of those, so really it's got to cope with 4 to 5 hours of burn time every night. Now the 6-pack, this has a battery size of 17,000 milliamp hours, so it's over twice as much battery capacity as the Strada. So assuming I use the same light levels, this is reasonably going to last me 6, maybe 7 nights of riding. Potentially longer than that, we'll see how it goes because obviously it's brand new. But another alternative is just to increase the light I've got available to me, which will just make riding easier. So yeah, probably around 5 to 6 days riding time with that. The next key thing, or the next most important thing after navigation and lights, is phone, which I've left downstairs. Phone, I use an iPhone 13 Pro Max. Try and saying that too quickly after the finishers party. The iPhone 13 Pro Max has one of the best battery lives of any phone that I've ever used. And the other thing to consider with something like Silk Road is there's going to be almost no reception. So it's going to spend most of its time in airplane mode. In airplane mode, that is reasonably going to last me about 72 hours. That's with a fair amount of pictures, a fair amount of video, and when I do get to major towns, I will be doing some live Instagram and I will be posting updates. So 3+ days with the GPS, 3+ days with the phone, and probably 6 days with the light. What else is there that I'm going to need to use? In terms of what I absolutely need to keep moving forwards, the one outstanding thing is probably the SRAM batteries. I'll be carrying 2 spares, so 1 on the bike and 2 in the bag. They last about 20 hours each, so 60 hours riding time, which again is probably going to be in the region of 4 to 5 days, but each one doesn't take that much to recharge. So that's the essentials. Then on top of that, I've kind of got nice to haves. So I've got my GoPro. That comes with 1 endurance battery in it, and I will be carrying 1 spare endurance battery. Yeah, typically that's going to probably only need to get recharged once in the whole race, depending on if I forget to turn it off, which has happened quite a few times. But again, they don't have huge capacity, so they don't take much to recharge. Headphones, wherever I've just put them. Headphones, I use some pretty cheap Anker Soundcore. I think these are the P1s, £25 off Amazon, and these have lasted the longest of any headphones that I've used. I've blown up so many sets of headphones in miserable weather. 32 hours total runtime, to be honest. Again, probably something that will only need recharging once. And then the final electronic item, pretty sure I've not missed anything here. Final electronic item is a head torch. I've never really got on with using a head torch or using a powerful light on my helmet for seeing when I'm riding at night. I'm usually happy with a pretty widespread beam coming from, a dedicated mountain bike light such as the 6-pack. But when you're setting up camp, of which there will be a lot on Silk Road, if you have to change a puncture when it's dark, then a head torch can be invaluable. This is the Petzl Active Core. What I like about this is it has a rechargeable battery in it. You can kind of pull it out like this. See if I can get this thing open. So it has a small battery like this, I don't know if that will focus, which basically simulates 3 AAA batteries, but it has a small USB micro charging port on it, so that can be recharged overnight. The other good thing about that is you can also put 3 AAA batteries in, so you've got options there, which is good. If this somehow fails, batteries are pretty ubiquitous and I should be able to find those anywhere. Pop that in. I'm not sure I expect that to run out. It has like 2 hours runtime on medium, but like 8 hours runtime on low, which is usually good enough to put a tent up or change a tyre. So that should last the race, I hope. Right, that's it in terms of key electrical items. Now we've gone through that, and some items are going to start running out after 3 or by day 4. The light should keep going till day 6, maybe day 7. That does mean I will need some recharge options just in case, because Silk Road's or Kyrgyzstan's quite remote. I can't expect to get somewhere where I can recharge things every 2 to 3 days. So I need a power bank. And I think this is one of the key things, other than the amount of time that the light and the GPS last. The other key thing enabling a non-dynamo approach on a remote race like this is a power bank like this. Now this is the new Anker 737. It's a sizable beast and it's quite weighty, but it's 24,000 milliamp hours. So I've run some tests, and with this battery I can pretty much recharge everything once. So this will allow my range, especially given that the light may last 6 days, this should extend my range to somewhere between 6 and 7 days. Now, my goal on Silk Road, I'll put it out there now, is certainly to finish within 12 days. So theoretically, hopefully that holds true in practice, theoretically I should just need to find a recharge point or somewhere where I can plug in once. And that's where this really comes into its own. This recharges at 140 watts. Now I don't actually have a 140 watt charger, I have a 100 watt charger which I'll get to in a minute. But I've tested this and this will recharge from flat with that 100 watt charger in 58 minutes. Now that's a food stop. I'm pretty sure that whenever we hit a big town, whether that's Narin on possibly day 3, day 4, whether that's Beetov on day 5 or day 6, maybe day 7, or some of the smaller towns as you come off Songkul Lake, 58 minutes is a restaurant stop. So we're going to be stopping, or I'm likely to be stopping in these places to get food, if not to find somewhere to sleep and make good use of having a hotel or a guest house available. 58 minutes from flat, that's a game changer. That enables me to just stop for food, fill this up, extends my range by 3 to 4 days. So how does that recharge so fast? Well, obviously some of it is the power bank, but then some of it is the charger as well. I've long been a fan, anyone who's watched me or watched my YouTube videos for a while will know I have long been a fan of the Minix chargers. These are gallium nitride, I probably pronounced that wrong, GAN chargers, which are a lot smaller than chargers used to be. So this is a 4-port charger, 3 USB-C power delivery and 1 USB-A. Now if there's just a single device plugged in, this will deliver 100 watts. And that's what allows me to recharge that Anker power bank in under an hour. But what it also allows me to do is to recharge multiple things at once. So if I get to a hotel and I'm going to be staying there, let's say 5-6 hours overnight, then I can plug lots of cables in. So, and this goes into cables, so we got one USB-C, which will then go into the Anker. We'll have another USB-C, which will then go into the Garmin, because the Garmin runs on USB-C now. We'll then have where have I thrown it? An iPhone USB-C cable which can go in the 3rd port, and that plugs my iPhone into charge. For those of you, if you have the option, if you have any recent iPhone, then make sure you're using a USB-C to Lightning cable, because that supports 20 watt charging, whereas the old USB-A to Lightning cables I think support a maximum of 12, so it almost doubles or halves your charging time for your iPhone. So that's 3 items in, and then the final item will be the no, that's the wrong one. Where is it? Here we go. The USB-A cable for the exposure light. Cannot wait for exposure to move to USB-C and a standard charging port like the rest of the world. Anyway, for now it's proprietary. So 4-port charger, all my things can get plugged in, and I'm leaving with all my essential devices fully charged, ready for the next leg of the race. The smaller items like the SRAM, they will be done as I go. I'll just have to get into a process of swapping the batteries in. They have a convenient thing for saying whether it's charged or empty. So normally it will be empty one goes on to charge, new one goes into your top tube bag ready to change, and one on your derailleur being used. So that's those. I think 2 more things to note about the electronic setup. Firstly, I am taking a small power bank just as redundancy. The second thing of note with regard to electronics is one of the most common things people suffer from on races is not being able to charge their phone, because the port gets, the Lightning port or the USB-C port gets water damaged. Now, again, for anyone who's got a fairly recent iPhone, they have this thing called MagSafe, which basically is a big magnetic puck, and that does wireless charging. So even if my lightning port gets flooded with water and can't charge, I still have a backup, so I can still keep my phone charging. And that's important because when you get to a town and you want to find a hotel, you want to find a restaurant, then you need access to Google Maps is the best way of doing that. And there's nothing worse than getting somewhere, finding your phone's dead, and then having no way to charge it, or plugging it in and it goes, this port is wet, ceasing charging. So this is a really good backup device for anybody who uses an iPhone who may have fried their port. So it's worth carrying. That is it. That is all my electric setup. It's taken quite a few years to evolve to this state. I know it works. I've got a high degree of confidence that it works, and I've got a high degree of confidence that this is going to get me through to the end of the race and give me an optimal setup without running some of the risks associated with the dynamo setup and having that amazing light available to me through the Exposure 6-pack. Any questions? Leave a comment down below. Are you going to do Silk Road? What are you using for your electric setup? Do you normally use a dynamo or a power bank? Have you started switching to some of the more modern, super fast charging power banks and charging sockets? Yeah, leave a comment below, hit the like button, and stay tuned for another episode of what's in my Silk Road kit list, which will be coming shortly. Hopefully shortly. The next one might be from the preparation room, but at some point they may switch to Kyrgyzstan when I leave in 2 days' time. Okay, see you later. Bye.